The fastest man on the planet and the king of track and field, Noah Lyles, has officially separated himself from the pack and now stands alone on top of the mountain. That man Lyles doubled in gold this past week in the 100 and the 200 meter in Budapest at the World Championships. I came in here after USA Championships and I said for Lyles to solidify himself as the top dog and to do the things that he wants to do, he would have to go to Budapest at World Championships and take care of business by doubling in gold in the 100 and the 200 meter dash. And he did exactly that. You can really tell that Noah's bringing a different energy, a different swagger to the sport. That he's not just here for play, he is here to dominate. And y'all know me, man. I love when the work that is put in finally comes into fruition and all the things that you do in the dark finally comes to light. Because it was evident from the jump that Lyles was just a different breed out there. I mean, from the early rounds of the 100 to the final where he didn't even get a great start. And then he pulled away in the last 15 meters like it was absolutely nothing. Like he was never even worried. After that 100 meter performance, did any of us really have any doubt with who is going to win the 200 meters? I mean, I knew Knighton and Tobago had just run well in the semis and they had a chance to pull off the upset, but Lyles just was a different breed. Like I said, he came off the curb and it wasn't even his best curve run either. But we know that last stretch is all him. When it comes to the last stretch of the 200 meter, nobody runs it as well as Noah Lyles. I know that Lyles posted that he wanted to run 9:65 and 19:10. The first would have been the second fastest 100 meter dash ever, and the latter would have broken Usain Bolt's 200 meter record. It was pretty evident after his start in the 100 meter dash and his curve run in the 200 that he wasn't going to come close to those two records. But that just proves how hard it is to run 6 rounds with prelims, semis, finals in 2 events and try to go out there and break world records. I think that just speaks to how next level Usain Bolt truly was, and it just adds to his legend. I mean, for him to go to Berlin in 2009 and break both world records in the 100 and 200 meter dash after all the prelims, semis, he's the GOAT for a reason. I mean, he is the GOAT, it's no debate. And honestly, his dominance within the sport is something that we may never see replicated again. And if we do see it replicated, we may not see it for a very long time. Personally, I always thought that the 1919 would be the harder of the 2 world records to break. But after Lyles ran 1931 last year in Eugene, it definitely seemed in reach. That 958 though, I don't know. Nobody's sniffed it ever since. And we may never see that broken for an extremely long time. Tyson Gay and Johan Blake both hit 9:69 shortly after, but the fastest time we've seen as of recently were ran by Christian Coleman, Trayvon Bromell, and Fred Curley, who all hit 9:76 in the past few years. To me, Christian Coleman always had the best shot to break it. I mean, he broke the world record in the 60-meter dash, and even his average start is better than a lot of guys' great starts. So when he's on his A game and he gets out the blocks like only he can, there's nobody catching him for the first 50 meters. But just like we saw this past week, those last 30 meters is when he starts to tighten up and guys start to pass him. Another factor is that in sprinting, especially the 100 meter dash, you don't see a lot of times that come close to world record being ran later in guys' careers. Usain ran that 9:58 at the age of 23. Tyson Gay ran his 9:69 at the age of 27, and Justin Gatlin PR'd in the 100 running 9:74 at the ripe age of 33. Lyles just turned 26, Coleman is now 27, and with Curley and Bromell sitting at 28, I just don't see that 100 meter coming down anytime soon. But that 200 meter could be, and I think will be, a different story. Because if Lyles doesn't break it in his near future, there are definitely 2 up-and-coming guys that have their eyes set on that world 200 meter record. Arian Knighton at 19 years of age and Letsio Tobago of Botswana at 20 both seem to be here to stay. Knighton at only 18 years old ran the 5th fastest 200 meter time ever at 19:49. Tobago just ran 19:50 in the semis this past week. One thing that I did notice this past week was that when Knighton got silver and he lost to Lyles, he was a little bit more happy and giddy than we've usually seen him when he comes second to Lyles in the 200 meter dash. And that made me think. The only thing I could think that was probably going through this guy's head was, this is my last time ever losing to Lyles in this race, and he knows it. If I'm Knighton, this has to be my mindset, right? I mean, I'm just getting started. You got 7 years on me, and I'm still this close to you. Yeah, once that next gear kicks in, it's wraps. Both Knighton and Tobago have a lot of room for growth and development in terms of just putting on more muscle and just continuing to get stronger. You look at Usain Bolt in his prime, although at 6'5", that man was cut up. I mean, he absolutely looked like a world-class athlete. You could say the same for guys like Johan Blake and Fred Curley. Even Noah Lyles, who isn't the biggest guy by any means, but still has a lot of muscle on him. Whereas Knight and Tobago are still kind of built like teenagers. Don't get me wrong, those two are still a long ways away from that 200-meter record, but if it's going to be broken in the near future, we cannot be surprised if it comes from one of those two. And can I even talk about the World Championships without mentioning the two queens of track and field, Sha'Carri Richardson and Shericka Jackson. Jackson taking the 200-meter crown and missing the world record by just 7/100ths of a second. While Sha'Carri told y'all she wasn't back, that she was better. And we have to make sure that the congrats is just as big, if not bigger, than the disrespect was. When she got suspended from the Olympics back in 2021 over the use of marijuana, there was just a ton of criticism that followed it. She was the biggest name in the sport. I mean, when you're as confident as she was with the antics, the hair, the nails, I mean, people just couldn't wait to prey on her downfall. Then when she returned and struggled heavily and missed Worlds altogether in 2022, then came even more disrespect. Which I get, as a pro, you gotta take the good with the bad, but she came back and absolutely killed 2023. She came back with a purpose, and she did it in the fashion that only she could have. So with Richardson, we all love a good comeback story, and while 2023 has a few meets left and was an exciting year for track and field, 2024 getting ready for Paris will be even more fireworks, and that's where Noah Lyles can really etch his name in the history books.